airlift, and it was a 24-hour operation. Because I was an electrician, I had to be responsible for taking the huge floodlight out to the end of the runway every night before it got dark, and light up the runway for landing and taking off by the aircraft to continue supplying food and other items to the citizens of Western Berlin, which was our sector. Each of the after the war, the Russians, the British, the Americans, the French had a quarter of Berlin each, and we had our own airfield, Gattel in airfield, which we sent supplies to distribute amongst the Germans. And this continued beyond the time that I was demobbed. It started at the beginning of the beginning of June, I think, 46, 48, and I was demobbed at the end of July 48, so I was doing it for 2 months, but it continued for another year until the Russians caved in and said, you can use the Autobahn and the railway. But we used to see the Russians at the other side of our sector with their guns pointing at us, and if we got anywhere near them, they'd shoot us. So we had to be very careful where we went. It was almost imminent another imminent war arising. We were very scared of that.
Was there a change in the atmosphere?
Oh, complete. We were on a war footing. I mean, the whole RF station changed completely. There was no entertainment. There was no time off. It was on duty the whole time virtually. But one of the things that we got out of being on duty all night was that the cook in the canteen would give us hot chocolate, which we didn't get otherwise. First thing in the morning, he'd give a glass of hot chocolate. So that was a treat. There's a funny life, really.
So were the aircraft coming in and out the whole time?
Every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes, a plane would land and another one would take off, full of supplies. I mean, some of the aircraft were very big and could take cars. I mean, the majority of the aircraft that flew up took either coal or flour. And in fact, during the time that I was on the Berlin airlift, there was no leave, but then because I was due for demob at the end of July, they said, well, you're due for demob, so you've got to go home. So I flew home on a York aircraft that had been doing the airlift to Berlin, and it had recently taken flour to Berlin, and the flour leaked out of the bags and was all in the plane. So when I arrived in the UK, in the airport, something in south of England, I forget the name of it. I was covered in flour because it just came off the walls onto the people. We had to put seats in. There were no seats. It was ready for carting goods, so we had to put about 6 seats in for the people that were travelling back to the UK, and we were all covered in flour when we arrived at the base in England, which was quite amusing.
Did you see anything of the Americans while you were in Germany?
American?
The Americans?
No, not a thing. Our sector was a long way away from them.
And did you ever have the opportunity to go into Berlin yourself?
I did. When I was stationed at Wunstorf, before the airlift started, at the weekend, there was entertainment, and leisure time for the aircraftsmen. And some weekends I would go down to the Harz Mountains, which was a leisure resort, and enjoy you could do horse riding, you could do gliding. I didn't fancy the gliding because I saw an accident You could do mountain climbing. It was very, very nice for a weekend. And then occasional weekends you go to Berlin. And I did go one weekend to Berlin, and I stayed in the Olympic Stadium, which is built in 35, 36. And we were using that to house airmen or army people that wanted a weekend in Berlin. And it was very nice.
What was Berlin like? Well, how much of it did you see?
Devastated. The bombing had taken its toll, and there wasn't anything to see. But we had a nice time in our own way in the Olympic Stadium. We didn't go very much. We had a look at the Brandenburg Gate. We had a look at other sites that were still there, but generally speaking, it was flat. It was flattened, completely flattened. I don't know how they rebuilt it after the war, to be honest. Amazing. No, I enjoyed the visit to Berlin and went on an aircraft and came back to Wunstorf.
And seeing all those aircraft putting in such a huge effort to keep Berlin supplied, and do you have any particular feelings on that?
Well, I just felt it was a job that had to be done. I know I was on duty almost every night and had to take my truck down with a floodlight on the back to light up the one way, but I didn't do anything during the day. I could sleep if I wanted to. I was just happy that I was contributing towards resolving a problem. I realised it was a major problem, and I didn't think it would get resolved, to be honest. I thought we were going to have a conflict, but luckily it didn't happen. So that was a rather trying period, quite unexpected. I thought everything was peaceful, but it wasn't.
And were there the opportunities, the facilities for religious observance while you were going through?
Well, before all that started, there was, because in London at Woburn House, which was a centre for the servicemen to be provided with religious facilities, a building in London, Woburn House in Holborn, was owned by the Jewish Hospitality Committee, and they extended their services to having chaplains go out to the forces wherever they were stationed around the world. They had several chaplains, and a chaplain named of Reverend Brown from Leeds came out to us in Germany, and he organised a moral leadership course in Brunswick. He actually had the finance to buy or lease a building in Brunswick for Jewish boys and girls to go to. It had dormitory accommodation, and meeting rooms and a very big house. So he acquired this house, and for 7 days we were invited to go there for a moral leadership course. And I've mentioned it in my piece of paper, and it was very interesting. He had lectures every day, services, and then I think on the first day of the course he laid on trucks to take us to Belsen, which had recently been liberated in 1946, and I'm afraid it was still a sight which was horrible to see. There was mounds of earth everywhere, and a row of trees all the way around, so nobody could see what was going on inside the place. And the stench was horrible, even though it was after the war. And so we spent a day visiting Belsen, and then subsequently I used to go into Hanover, which was quite near Wunstorf, and I happened to bump into survivors who had come out of the camp, gone on a train to a port to get on a boat to go to Haifa, and been sent back to Germany. They weren't allowed to land at Haifa in Israel because the allocation had been exceeded of people going in, and they went back to Hanover, and I met them. And in fact, because of my diet, I tried to keep a kosher diet. I wouldn't eat ham or bacon or anything like pork. They used to provide me with butter from the black market and other commodities that I could eat, and eggs. And I used to take eggs into the canteen, and they would boil them for me and give me eggs for breakfast. And so I was able to eat the food that I should be eating, even though I was Jewish and there wasn't a diet provided for me from the RAF. I got it by my own devices. But I did meet quite a number of survivors, and I got very friendly with them because they were having to put their life together again in Germany.
There a sec. All these schoolgirls disappeared.
Sure. How are we doing?